Hi, Len.
Hi, Nicolette.
Hello. Yes, my name is Nicolette. I am podcast creator titled You're Worthless. Read that again. The juxtaposition of your very soul. First up, I'd like to say I'd like to apologize for all the back and forth with our scheduling, but then I'm very grateful that we're here now today. And thanks to technology, it's bridging the gap of us being 8,000 miles away. So
Right, exactly.
I'd like to read a bit of your introduction for our listeners today, and then we can get right into our conversation.
It's good.
So, hey everyone, we have Mr. Len May here with us. Mr. May brings more than 25 years of cannabis and genomics experience to Endocanna Health. A pioneer in the medical cannabis industry, May has been instrumental in shaping the current legislation and culture. He has held past positions as president of the Cannabis Action Network and board member and lifetime member of California Cannabis Association. May is the current chair of the CBDIA Science Board and is a stakeholder in some of the industry's most iconic brands. His areas of expertise include the workings of the endocannabinoid system and how DNA and genetic expression play a role in personalized health and wellness, leveraging the revolutionary platform of EndoDNA. As a certified medical cannabis specialist in medicinal genomics, May has an in-depth knowledge of genomics, cannabinoids, and terpenes, terpenes, and their interaction with the endocannabinoid system. Wow, it's a lot of jargons right there. Welcome, Len.
Thank you. I just learned something. So I learned that my bio is way too long, and after this, I'm cutting it down, make it really short.
Well, well, I mean, I love it because it gives the listeners an in-depth view of who we have on today. But yes, thank you so much, Len, for today. So, can you share with us what was it like growing up as Mr. Lanming?
It was an interesting childhood because I was the type of kid that, well, first of all, I was born in Lithuania, so under the Soviet Union
Oh,
kind of rule. I immigrated to U.S. when I was about 6 years old. And I was the kind of kid in school that would sit, the teacher would call me, but my mind was elsewhere. I wasn't really focused. And I got diagnosed with attention deficit disorder without the hyperactive part when I was a teenager. And I was put on prescription medication. And I can't say it didn't work. It depends how you define work. It did allow me to focus, but it took away sort of piece of my soul with that. The connection to feeling was removed. So you sort of go
mm-hmm.
about your day, not happy, not sad, and just kind of, coasting through. And I was able to discover that for me, cannabis was a medicine that worked for me. And I was able to get off all kinds of prescription medication and then, use that to help other people as well. But my parents didn't really like that too much. They actually ended up, calling the police on me, trying to have me arrested and kick me out of the house. Yeah, but the irony
Wow,
of this
that
whole thing
extreme.
is, yeah, they both take formulations that our company produces for, their conditions now. So it all came around full circle.
Wow, thank you for being honest and candid. So,
Mhm.
okay, I know you mentioned a bit about how did you get into cannabis, but how did you really get into the industry, into cannabis? What was your backstory?
Yeah, so the backstory is besides my own, focus and purpose of consuming cannabis as my medicine, I was working for a music company, working my way through college, having several different jobs in university, and one of them was working for a place called Tower Records. Some of the older people who are listening probably remember it was a huge record store, global, all over the world, and I was a music buyer for that store. So I got a chance to go to a music festival, and I was watching these bands perform, and there was all kinds of like the Black Crowes and Ziggy Marley and all that stuff. And then they had a booth, and somebody said, Cannabis Action Network, and I stopped over and saying, what are you guys doing? Like, we're trying to fight for legalization, and I'm like, okay, how are you doing that? We're registering people to vote. I said, great. Okay, well,
Mm.
I'm registered to vote already. What else are you doing? They're like, were registering people to vote. They had no plan. So I became the president of the Cannabis Action Network.
No.
And
Wow.
yeah, and I was a lobbyist, and I held a rally. I'm from Philadelphia. I live in Los Angeles now. I held a rally at Independence Hall in Philadelphia in the U.S., where, for those of you who don't know, that's where the Constitution is, Declaration of Independence, the Liberty Bell, and all that. By the way, all that is written, not the Liberty Bell, but the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution written on hemp paper. So in doing that, I had a keynote speaker that was there. Her name was Elvie Mosica, and she was one of the first people to get federally prescribed cannabis under a program that doesn't exist anymore in the U.S. Even though it's a Schedule I substance, there was a program that allowed people to get medical cannabis for their medical conditions, cancer. She had genital glaucoma. And one of the things that everybody stayed in my house, and one of the things that I had a sculpture in my house. In the morning, we got woken up to a loud noise. Elvie happened to walk in, and she broke the sculpture, and she felt so bad, but she couldn't see. She never saw it. So I experienced for the first time, besides somebody using cannabis for myself, for my own condition, I experienced somebody using it for their own medical conditions. I realized, I'm like, well, if it works for me, it works for her, completely different. Maybe we can start looking at matching what type of condition with what type of plant medicine this person may have. Maybe it's, based on something like genetics, as an example. So that sort of launched my journey in trying to find what is the right cannabinoid, what is the right plant medicine, what is the right vitamin, what is the right nutrient, what are the right things for individuals, because it's really personalized medicine at the end of the day. And, I did a stint in corporate America. I worked for a company called PwC, PricewaterhouseCoopers.
Oh,
I was a venture
fellow, me
capitalist for
too.
a while. You did too? You worked for PwC? Yeah, so I worked in PwC in Philadelphia.
EY, the
Oh, you
competitor.
did EY. Yeah, so it's all the
EY,
same
yeah.
thing. Yeah,
Ernst
it's
and
all
Young.
the same thing. It's all
Exactly.
big. At the time when I was there, it was Big Six, and then it was Big Four or whatever. But, I did my corporate
Mm.
stint. I became a commercial real estate broker too. I kept moving to different, industries, but I always had cannabis in the back of my mind. And when I moved to Los Angeles, through real estate, I got involved in dispensary business, and it was legal under the
Mm.
law in California. But one of the things I started seeing was two people will consume the same chemical variety and have a completely different experience. So I started looking my ADD is I can do many things, or I can hyper focus on one. And that one thing was trying to figure out, why are people having these responses? So I started getting into plant genomics, and I worked with a company that was doing genetic sequencing of the plant. So I started genetically looking at different chemical varieties, sequencing them, and seeing that they had certain, regardless of what you call the name of it, they had certain properties, certain cannabinoids, certain terpenes was the word that you were pronouncing. Terpenes really means essential
Terpenes.
oils.
Okay, terpenes.
Yeah, terpenes or terpenoids, it means essential
Ah.
oils. So every single plant develops an essential oil. In cannabis, they give it its smell, and they also react with the
Mm-hmm.
cannabinoids to produce a response. So in starting to do that, I started seeing the differences of different chemical varieties, cultivars, and humivars, they call them. And then the parent company, the company that I was consulting with, they were doing pharmacogenomics testing. So pharmacogenomics is a study of how drugs affect individuals' bodies. So how you metabolize them, what is certain pharmacokinetics, what is the drug interaction, what happens if you take this drug with this drug, what is the adverse effects of that. So I started getting into human genomics and started to understand how different things affect us based on genetic predispositions. And so I had a light bulb moment one day, and I said, why don't we take the plant genetics and the human genetics, bring them together to help people avoid or mitigate a possible adverse event, so they can find something that works better for them, so they can dose more accordingly to what their bodies are. And we filed a patent on that in 2018, and we're awarded a patent. So we have a patented endocannabinoid system test, and from there, we sort of started expanding to other types of tests, and we can go into that in more detail. But really, our focus is precision medicine or precision wellness with the idea of a feedback loop mechanism that uses machine learning or AI to start getting predictive inferences. So what works for the people that are based on genetic predispositions, what mitigates the expression of epigenetic predispositions, so you can have a personalized experience with any plant medicine or just any wellness product whatsoever.
Wow. I, w- it is definitely not legal here where I am right now, but I am
Right.
very interested to know because I like to learn on a lot of things, especially about this area. What when was it legalized in California?
Yeah, in 1996, there was two
Right.
propositions. There's SB 420 and Prop 215, and it was for medical use. So if you think about the industry as a whole, and by the way, plant medicine and
Hmm.
cannabis, there's different cannabinoids. Only one of them has a euphoric feeling, which is THC, which gets you high. But hemp,
Yeah. THC.
CBD, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
CBD does not. It doesn't have a psychoactive association with it. It's an anti-inflammatory. So there's no reason for that to be illegal. But they took the plant with all its components, said this plant that grows in nature is illegal. But if you break down the components of
Mm-hmm.
what makes you quote unquote high or euphoric, you can see that certain cannabinoids have an actual therapeutic property. And I can go into the science of why it works if you want at some point. But uh, so it was made legal in California under Prop 215 SB 420 in 1996, and the concept why it was being made legal is because there was an epidemic of AIDS at that time in the early 80s, and cancer patients were receiving legal cannabis. There was a couple people that are recognized to starting this movement. Dennis Perron, who's passed away, and a woman called Brownie Mary, who's also passed away. But what they were doing, they were going because nobody would come near AIDS patients at the time. They were bringing them brownies with our cannabis in it. So the AIDS patients
Mm-hmm.
actually could alleviate pain and could have an appetite because it couldn't hold any food down.
Mm,
And so they were helping to save a lot of people's
right.
lives. And the pharmaceutical industry created a synthetic uh, version of cannabis THC called Marinol. And it suppressed pain, but it
Mm,
never gave them an appetite. So it never worked right. So it continued on, and they lobbied and lobbied and lobbied. In
mm.
'96, they passed the medical bill. So yeah, and then the recreational, 10 years later.
No, fantastic journey. Len, what's the adoption rate of the people who's actually who 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 comes to you for help? Are they what are the teams? I would say the health teams that people come to you for help.
We have two different models: our direct-to-consumer model, and then we have a B2B model. But the direct-to-consumer model is we can't talk about a disease, but we can talk about symptomatic conditions. So the symptomatic conditions that people come to us for are usually inflammatory conditions. So something to do that is causing them pain or discomfort, muscle pain, joint pain, sports injuries, those kind of things. Also, sleep. Sleep is a huge one for us people, so they can get better
Mm,
quality sleep. Also,
yeah.
mental health challenges. And what I mean by that is stress and anxiety or feeling of depression. So those
Mhm.
mood challenges are also why people come to us usually.
Mm, mm, mm. Well, thank you. Thank you for that. How do I say this? It is, I think there's always two sides to the coin, and this is why I've seen people lobbying as well. And in where I come from, there was some lobbyists to grant this to how do I say this, to put this forward for medicinal purposes. But of course, it's a long way to go for us. But I've always been interested about how the other countries have actually accepted it, and how it is how how has it played out in terms of the acceptance rate, and as an alternative medicine instead of taking pills or having surgeries done, right? And I think talking to you and also doing my own research, studying, I've seen tremendous benefits. So it is something. Okay, just me being curious, what do you see? What's your projection, right? What's your projection like on the industry of cannabis?
Well,
At least in the US.
well, I can talk about it globally. We're a global company. We're all over the world,
Oh
so I
yeah,
can
yeah, yeah.
so
Sure,
I can
yes,
talk about it
globally, yeah.
globally. But let me just back up and say, look, cannabis, hemp, cannabis, and different components have been used in medicine for thousands of years. Also, plant medicine, traditional
That I
Chinese
can,
medicine,
yeah. Ancient times, right?
ancient, thousands of years.
Yeah.
So what happens in a lot of
Mhm,
plant
mhm.
medicine and in different parts of the world, you go to Brazil and the Amazon, they use plant medicine for all kinds of different things. So the pharmaceutical industry gets a hold of
Ayahuasca and all those things.
exactly ayahuasca, but you have to understand that we have these neurochemicals inside of us. This is where people don't
Mhm.
understand that you're getting a plant. The plant is not going to work for you effectively unless you're producing your own neurochemistry. This is how these
Yes.
drugs work. It makes a whole
Yeah.
difference. So people are scared of, oh, how is this going to affect me, etc. Well, I'm going to answer your question. I'm just going to give some examples of how drugs work. Cocaine. Cocaine is illegal, but it's
Mhm.
Schedule 2 in the United States. Cannabis is Schedule 1. That means it has no medicinal purposes, even though the U.S. government had a patent on medicinal purposes of cannabis as a neuroprotectant. So you have to understand that there's a business aspect of why they want to control some of these plants. Cocaine is a Schedule
Right.
2 substance. You're using cocaine, lidocaine, all kinds of different pharmaceuticals that come from the cocoa plant as a medicine to
Mhm.
numb things. Like when I get an injection, I was getting exosomes in my knee. They use lidocaine to numb that. So why? Why does it work?
Mhm.
Well, what happens is when you're consuming cocaine, it binds to your dopamine
Mhm.
receptor and it squirts 100 times more dopamine than you would normally produce, which is a neurochemical, that we produce ourselves. And it blocks the reuptake of that dopamine. So while you're on that substance, exogenous substance, it means you took it from the outside in, your then endogenous neurochemical, which is dopamine, is excreted. And it's there for a while, then it goes away. And your brain says, I want more of that because dopamine is what's being addictive. It's not the chemical. It's not what you're putting in your body. It's a neurochemical that
It's
you're
what
being
we
dependent on.
secreted.
Yeah, we secreted dopamine. So your brain's saying more dopamine, more
Mm.
dopamine, more dopamine, and signals for you to get dopamine. The same way we are get dependent on sugar. It's sugar. You
Yeah.
smell sugar. You smell something. Your brain automatically sends a signal to the vagus nerve to create ghrelin to make you want to have more. And this is the cycle that
Mm.
people get confused about. And when you're consuming cannabis, the plant itself, we have receptors in our body, in our brain,
Mhm.
to receive those phytochemicals, phytocannabinoids from the plant. Now, we, through evolution, through thousands and thousands, maybe millions of years, our receptors have changed. So things that do not serve us, we no longer have receptors for. There's going to be things like who knows what the appendix is for. So maybe in 100 years, nobody will have an appendix because we bred out of it. We don't need it anymore. Maybe I'm just giving an example. But think about it this way: the endocannabinoid system exists in our body still. It is something that we have and is a primary modulating system of all of our systems. So if you went to medical school in the United States prior to 1992, you were never taught the endocannabinoid system.
Mhm.
It was only discovered in 1992 in Israel by Israeli scientists. So one of the things that we're looking at is what does this system do? So it's a very unique system. It gets signals from all your other systems in your body, like your endocrine system, your immune system, etc. It sends a signal up your central nervous system to the brain to tell the brain to release other neurochemicals, chemicals that we produce ourselves endogenous, to be able to modulate the other system that's out of balance. And what it does, it keeps our body in what's called homeostasis, which is balance.
Mm.
And the two chemicals
Mhm.
that it uses, one is called anandamide. The word ananda means bliss in Sanskrit. It's a bliss molecule. So,
That's
so when you consume,
anandamide.
as you know, right? So when you consume THC, delta 9 THC from the plant, what's called when it's decarboxylated. So what that means is it's heated, and when it's heated to a certain temperature, there's an acid molecule. I know I'm getting sciencey, but it drops off the acid molecule, and it's a perfect fit for a CB1 receptor. It's like a lock and key. Goes in, and
Yeah.
it releases an andamide.
Releases.
That's where we feel the euphoria and that feeling of high. We get that when we run. The runner's high, it also releases an andamide. So the second active ingredient in the cannabis plant, CBD, cannabidiol, also from the plant, it has an acid molecule. So it's called CBDA or THCA. When it's decarboxylized, you actually have that connection to the CB2 receptor, which are mostly located in your body, in your immune, your digestive system. All these are there. So when it binds, it releases something called 2-AG, which actually helps to modulate your immune digestive system. So we produce these chemicals inside of us. And when we are deficient in our own neurochemicals, then we're able to take that as a supplement. The same thing as you take vitamin D or vitamin C or any other supplement that we take that we are deficient because we produce them inside. So the fear of this, it's illegal. Why is one plant legal, another plant's illegal? These are the things that we have to have a deeper conversation with. How is Big Pharma involved? What is the benefit to the government? Where do we start creating this fear factor? Because we produce these things internally, you know?
Yes. Ooh. I think this has been one of the most insightful episode I've ever had. Thank you. Thank you, Len, for that insights. Now, I think we did touch on this a bit just now, but then what can cannabis help cure or treat?
Yeah, cure is an interesting thing because we cannot make claims, but I can tell you about studies and clinical trials that have been done. Cannabis has been shown to, in what's called apoptosis in cancer. Apoptosis is cell death. So there are studies, and there are ongoing studies that help that certain cannabinoids, when you have the right cannabinoid profile and the right terpenes, it helps to create that cell death in cancer. But it helps people with all kinds of different conditions. So skin conditions, like anything like rosacea, eczema. It helps people with conditions of pain and inflammation as an anti-inflammatory. And why it works, in my opinion, by the way, why it works better than, over-the-counter, Tylenol or ibuprofen or some of that. The reason why is because it has a dual purpose. It works as an analgesic, which is a pain reliever. It has a THC side. And as it's working as an analgesic, it's also an anti-inflammatory. So it's going to the root cause of what's causing the feeling of the pain instead of just addressing stop the pain. Because sometimes
the surface.
Sometimes pain is a signaling mechanism. Something else is going wrong. Just because your elbow hurts, it doesn't mean that it's not being caused by something else. So I was just dealing with a person who had eczema. So really dry skin, patchy on her face. But the issue is the skin is telling you what's going on the inside. So on the inside, there's autoimmune challenges. So while you balance that, now your skin is telling you, okay, it's sort of calmed itself down. So pain, sleep, those are the things I mentioned about. And there's, you're looking at, right now we have about 140, 150 different cannabinoids that we identify. So the combination of those cannabinoids, maybe over 400 different substances that are in the plant. So you're not just looking at one that's THC gets you. You're looking at many. So how do you combine that plant into what works for people personalized for different conditions? You have to create studies. There's only one drug that has been FDA approved from cannabis that is used for childhood epilepsy. It's called Epidiolex. It's by a company called GW Pharmaceuticals. It was acquired by a company out of Ireland called Jazz Pharmaceuticals. There's a second one called Sativax, which is for another condition, autism, epilepsy, a seizure disorder, Parkinson's disease, a cancer. I mean, on and on and on. But we need to have more clinical trials that are specific to individuals, not just, animal studies, etc. So we do a lot of observational, real world data. That means that Nicolette is going to be in a cohort. She's going to consume a certain formulation along with other people, and you're going to see how efficacious, how well it works for you for whatever condition we're trying to address. And that's real world data, and that's the stuff that we're gathering to help the world get a better understanding of what works for what conditions and what kind of people.
Remarkable. I love the work that you're doing. Thank you so much for being at the forefront of this.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
And everything is personal in that way. It's like cannabis is a part of it, but we all, like I was mentioning earlier, we also look at vitamin and nutrients. Well, you look at your genetic predispositions and you get to make decisions, empowered decisions on how to treat your own health and wellness. So I'll give you an example. Let's say genetically, I have a predisposition low iron levels. Okay, but I want to make a food choice that I'm not going to eat meat anymore. Well, if I'm getting a lot of iron from my meat and I'm going to be a vegetarian.
Where are you going to get it now?
Exactly, but I don't know this about myself, so I can get it from spinach. I can get it from other vegetables, or I can also, in addition to that, take an iron supplement. But now that I know this about right now, fish, now that I know this about myself, I can make more informed decisions. So that's when it becomes a personal, process to be able to connect to what's right for the individual for everything.
Wow, thank you. And then we talk about that personalization. So now, how can you personalize everything with DNA?
Yeah, it's a good question. You can't personalize everything with DNA. DNA is your roadmap, your GPS unit for your own personalized health and wellness. And what that means is by understanding your genetic predispositions, you can then avoid those potholes that are in your personal road and take more of what you think you need. And then what you do is you measure epigenetically what you turn on and what you turned off. So to give you an example, DNA, we're born with genetics that we received half from our mother, half from our father. So some of those genes are turned on. So like our hair color, our eye color, our skin color, our genetics, what ethnic genetics we have that came from our parents. We have those that are turned on. A lot of our other genes, we turn on based on lifestyle choices. So the food that we put in our bodies, the supplementation that we consume, our mental health, stress levels, neurochemicals, cortisol levels, adrenaline, all these different exposure to heavy metals, pesticides, all these different things, they can affect that we turn things on or off. So by you knowing your genetic predisposition, you can make better life choices to be able to mitigate the expression of some of those things turning on or off. That's how you can use genetics.
Yes. Wow. It's like music to my ear. Thank you so much. Let's talk a little bit about music.
All right.
So you said that you were doing a bit of music here and there growing up. So what was the journey like? And are you still doing music right now?
Well, doing music. So I'm not a musician. I love music. I don't know if you can see behind me.
I can see that.
I'm a
and
collector.
even your shirt.
Yeah, I'm a collector of vinyl. I love music, all kinds of music. Every day I do a record of the day that I post, so to share something that I'm listening to, whether it's newer or older. Music is part of health and part of life. There's a certain thing about music. Not only, words can connect to you and evoke emotion, but there's also a vibrational energy to music. There is a certain type of music that may connect with you at a certain time, and when you're in sync with that vibrational energy, it evokes chemistry. It evokes
certain
neurons. It evokes our neurochemicals like oxytocin, like dopamine, like serotonin. And if you think about it, you can do an experiment with this. Listen to music. If you have a dog, dogs are the best at this. If you're listening to music and the music is sad, like just because I listen to this to my daughter, the new Billie Eilish album she just released. To me, it was a very sad. Like you can feel that she's working. Yeah,
Yeah.
melancholy. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
It's just work. So if you listen to that and you have a dog, see if your dog gives you a little bit more love in that moment, because now your neurochemistry is being excreted. Your dog is smelling that neurochemistry
Yeah.
and coming back to you and saying, you know what, you need some extra love, oxytocin, and then there's exchange of energy. Music is a uniting force. I mean, it's inherent in us, and
Mm.
so I'm a big fan of music. It's some big part of my life.
Same. Me too. I don't collect vinyls, but then I have before growing up, my mom and dad, they both of them have exposed my sister and I to lots of collections from David Foster. I'll name all those Sultans of Swings, Eagles. So I grew up with those. So and I'm very very appreciative of the art. Before when I was little, because it was played around in the house so many times, I get to understand, I get to listen and then memorize. But right now, at this age, you understand it better. You understand the art that comes with the symphonies and that. Yes, music
And the
is
other
life
part,
for
but
me as well.
look,
Mhm.
listening to music on records or CDs or Spotify or whatever you listen to, that's a connection, and it's amazing. Seeing music live, there is an exchange of energy with the artist. So,
In the
like,
room,
exactly. It's
yeah.
like tomorrow I'm going to see Pearl Jam, for instance. Oh
No
man, yeah, it's
way.
incredible. So you have a connection, and I'll tell you, when the audience is aligned and there's an
Hmm.
energy, and they share that same energy back with the artist
Hmm.
bounces that energy back, and you have this revolving energy. It's just
Yeah,
an incredible thing. It makes you feel good.
exactly. That's why they said every time you leave a concert, that you just wish it never ends.
Exactly.
So, Len, what is next for you?
Next is, I think you asked me a question that I don't think I answered 100%, but
Okay.
about the
Oh,
future
yeah,
of
yeah.
cannabis in the industry. So
Hmm.
I'm gonna tell you what's next while answering that question also. Uh, in the United States, the DEA, the Drug Enforcement Agency, proposed a rescheduling of cannabis from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3, which
Hmm.
means that it will be studied as an actual medicine and prescribed at some point and
Okay.
prescribed for conditions, whether
Mm.
it's diseases or whether it's a certain symptomatic condition. So I think that's going to start the world recognizing cannabis as an actual therapeutic and a wellness product
Hmm.
and medicine as well. So what's next for us is more global expansion and doing whole genome where we can guide people into personalized health and wellness with all kinds of different substances. So right now we have reports, our endocannabinoid system report that I just we talked about. We have reports on personalized vitamins and nutrients. We have
Oh,
reports on
wow.
skin. We have reports on, we just built a wonderful test on with a world-renowned female sexual health doctor, Dr. Jennifer Berman, who we created this menopause biotype report. So it
Mm.
looks at women's hormone health, perimenopause, menopause, postmenopause, and the side effects that may be related to the individual female for that specific condition. So we're able to address that and mitigate through hormone optimization and different supplementation. We're doing the same thing on the men's hormone health side. We have a mental health report that we're working on, and we even have a couple of other really interesting ones that I can't talk about yet. But the idea is that we will develop dynamic reports using AI to be able to guide people on any kind of symptomatic condition that's based on their genetics, and then from there, bookend it with a biological age test. And what I mean by that is, we have a chronological age, and then we have what is going on inside of us, biological age. So
Hmm.
if we can reduce biological age by a personalized protocol, and then come back and measure that we reduced biological age by X amount of years, now we can prove efficacy of a protocol. The protocol may include, like we were talking about, food, mindfulness, supplementation, you know, yoga, I don't know, whatever, movement, all these different things. And now we can actually start looking besides just blue zones where we have a diet of what to eat and all, well, what else can we possibly do? How can we take better control over health and wellness? So it's not only living a longer life. Yeah, everybody, you want to live to 120 years, but I want to live healthy. So it's not,
Yes.
most
The
people spend
quality of life. Yeah.
quality. So
Mm-hmm.
help span, and that's the focus. So that's really what our future is. It's being able to, and maybe exit or merge with another company that allows us to scale even more. We'll
Yeah.
see. But it's about that precision wellness and being able to measure as we go.
Wow. I cannot wait how your story unfolds. Like I might be seeing you in Singapore or something.
I'll be
Who
there.
knows?
I'm
Yeah,
looking
who
forward to
knows,
it.
right? I cannot wait for your journey. Okay, Len, I'm gonna pivot to a self-worth question and quickly, and then we can wrap this up because my podcast talks a lot about self-worth. So the question for you, Len, in your opinion, what role do societal expectations and external validation play in shaping our self-worth? And how can we break free from these influences and find our intrinsic value?
It's a wonderful question. I love it because I actually just had a conversation with somebody uh, about this whole notion of self-worth and belief. So if you're familiar with who Kevin Hart is,
Mm-hmm,
Kevin, yeah.
mm-hmm.
So
The
he just,
the comedian.
everybody knows, but I'm just putting it out there. So he was just honored with the with a lifetime prize for his
I didn't catch this.
comedy.
Oh,
It's
okay.
on Netflix if anybody wants to see it. It's but the point that I'm trying to make from that is he gave a speech, and he
Mm-hmm.
gave a wonderful speech about the belief that he had in himself, which he was able, and his mom helped to, instill that belief in him as well. That no matter what, you feel that you can trust yourself and believe in whatever it is that you're doing. It's hard, comedy, to be a big star, but you have to persevere. And I went through it, in my life where people told me no, and you can't do this, but having that belief in yourself, it's a driver. So
Mm-hmm.
what can you do to be able to raise your self-worth is speak to yourself like you would do your best friend in the world. And one of the things that we have a really hard time with is we're very good at giving advice to other people that we don't take ourselves. I'm guilty of it too. But to remind yourself, when I say this to my brother, to my sister, to my best friend in the world, would I talk to them like that? No. I have to be able to treat myself with love, kindness, respect, because things are going to get difficult. And always believe that you have a gut feel that's learned. And when people understand what that whole gut feel really is, it's a really, really educated part of your brain. There's a brain, gut brain axis. What happens is, because our brain likes to conserve energy, it takes
Mm-hmm.
experiences that we had in our life and stores it in our subconscious. So we don't
Mm-hmm.
have to think about them all the time. But what happens is, the brain likes patterns. That's why we can be good at puzzles, solving things. So when an event is happening in the moment and it reminds us of something that we've experienced in the past, your brain sends a signal again into your gut and actually has a communication of neurochemicals that's telling you something
Or
feels wrong
familiar.
or right or
Yeah,
familiar, like you
familiar.
said.
Yeah, but
Something
it
feels
doesn't familiar, but
trust
it's not right. Yeah.
trust your gut, because it's not just a feeling. It is a very learned part of yourself. Develop that trust in yourself. No matter what anybody says to you, make sure that you feel that you are doing something that aligns with your purpose. And purpose is an interesting thing. We all try to have this purpose that is this grand scale thing. It doesn't have to be. Purpose
Yes.
can be what I'm doing the next month is my
Yeah.
purpose. And then I have
Yeah.
a different purpose. But make
Yeah.
sure you connect to that, because what's going to happen is a lot of people reach their destination and they're lost. So you
Mm.
have to enjoy the journey of getting there and set your next goal. But dreams without actions or goals without actions are just dreams. And in order
Dreams.
to be able to live your dream, you have to take massive action. And the only way you take massive action is if you have a connection to what that outcome is going to be. So connect yourself.
Yeah, Len, I think I lost you. Can you? Oh, let's see. Can you hear me now? Hello? Okay. I lost you for a bit there. Right now, can you hear me? Am I audible to you? Can you hear me? Hi, hi, Len. Can you hear me? No. Okay. What up? Hello? Oh gosh. Okay, hang on. Maybe right now. Right now? Right now? You can't. Okay, it's okay. You know what? I'm just kidding. Can you hear me now? Station. What about now, Len? Are you able to hear me? What about now, Ken? Len?
Those are fine.
What about right now?
Let me see.
Let me try again.
Testing. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Right now? No. No. Hello? Okay. Hang on. Me? Is it better? What about now? No? Okay. Okay. What's wrong? Right now?
No, I unplugged my headphones. I still can't hear you.
What's wrong? What about now, Len? Right now? No? Let me leave the studio. How is it? What about now? Is it okay? Can you hear me?
Yes.
We're almost done. We're almost done.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Can
Well,
you
so
hear
you,
me?
I can
Can
hear
you hear
you.
me? You can hear
I
me.
can hear
Okay.
you
I can't hear you
perfectly.
at
You
all.
can't hear me at all. Okay. You can't. But I'm not using my headphones now. Okay.
Testing. Let me unplug
I
this.
can hear you. I can hear you. You are well. Hello, hello, hello. No.
I'll change my no. So, there you go. Can you hear me?
I
Can
can
you
hear
hear me?
you. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. We're about to end. Okay. Let me just put on my headphones again. And what about now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. I can hear an echo of myself, but okay. Whew. You can hear me, right? Sorry, Len. Just few more questions and we can wrap this up.
Yeah, no
So,
problem.
Len, what is your heart's greatest wish?
I want my daughter to experience a world that is better than I have had and that I made some sort of contribution that I left behind to be able to help that world be better.
Thank you. Do you have a mantra that you live by?
Dare to dream. I have it tattooed on me.
No. I see the lion.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it says dare. It says dare to dream.
Amazing. Amazing. Is there anything that keeps you up at night or do you sleep well?
I have a ritual for sleep, so I sleep well when I sleep. I don't sleep a lot, which is probably not the best, but my quality of sleep is good. But what keeps me, it's not what keeps me up, it's what it affects the quality of my sleep. And that is, running a business. So in general, there's a lot of things to be able to have a successful business. And one of my things is to make sure that, people are dependent on me. I'm the
Mm.
CEO of the company. My decisions affect not just me, many other people. So yeah, I mean, we're in the middle of a Series B raise right now. So I want to make sure that we have enough uh, uh, enough revenue flowing in investment so we can scale, so we can give people more jobs, so we can get this out to more people. So this is constantly, what a person who's in my position has to do. Being an entrepreneur is everybody would do it if it was easy. And people fail, and the reason why people
Yeah.
fail in business is because you reach a certain you reach a certain point in your business where you hit walls, and it's much easier because we're creatures of comfort to sit back down and say, I'm not going to go through this wall. I'd rather go. It's much easier to go work for somebody else, get a salary, be comfortable. But you have to be able to be comfortable in being uncomfortable. And I think
Uncomfortable.
and I think that's one of the craziness that makes people genetically. I have a genetics company, but I haven't found that gene that is the crazy entrepreneur gene. I don't know what it is yet, but I'll tell you that people who are like serial entrepreneurs, there is some sort of, there's some sort of insanity to that. Why would you put yourself
Yes.
through that? But there is a desire. There is this desire to be
Hmm.
able to. And by the way, it can be different drivers. It can be something like, I'm going to prove my dad wrong, or I'm going to make I'm going to change the world. Whatever that driver is that connects to you, connecting to that and putting in hours and hours and hours of work that makes you an expert in that, that's the goal. And then you can do multiple things. I have ADD, so I can do multiple things at the same time. But understand what you're great at. And then once you do that and you align a whole bunch of uh, education, work, anything, is that whole, Malcolm Gladwell talks about 10,000 hours in the outliers, and Robert Greene talks about 20,000 hours in mastery. And it's true. And you don't notice this, but years go by and you're like, shit, I used to do this when I was 20 years old. And I've been doing it for, the last 30 years. I think I got my 20,000 hours. So it's running a business is extremely difficult. And the key is to surround yourself with people that also have the same passion as you and have a skill set that actually
Mm.
uh, bridges those gaps that you may not have.
Compliments. Hmm. Hmm. Wow. Thank you for that advice. I
For
mean,
sure.
I saw one influencer says this. He said it, fall in love with the process of creating rather than the creation. It's more about the person that you get to become when you get to the end.
Yeah, I love that. And it's growth. I
And
mean,
I
we're
love
we're
that.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're here for the purpose. I don't know what the purpose is, but I'll just tell you what I feel the purpose is. The purpose is growth. It's like everything else. You grow or you die. There's no other alternative. You have to
Yes.
grow. And if you're
You
growing,
have to grow.
that's it. So you just grow. And there's no mistakes. And I failed. It's none of that. You win or you fail. Or you win or you grow. I mean, there is no such thing as failure.
Yeah.
Uh, Everything else is a learning
Hmm.
experience, and that's growth. And you take that in, you say, okay, I think what happens to a lot of people is they get fearful and they get afraid because they failed. Oh my God, I lost money. I lost it. Okay, I tried different things. Yeah, so
What will
it's
people
okay.
think of me?
Exactly. All those things. Well, I'm a disappointment. And it comes back to what you were saying before. Your self-talk. You're always going to
Yeah.
have that thing in your ear that's telling you you're this, you're that. Well, shut it up. It doesn't matter
Hmm.
because you're here to grow.
Hmm. Thank you. Thank you, Len. So, Len, if you could create a quote right now for you to leave to the audience listening and the world as your legacy, what would it be?
Well,
Yes, a quote.
first thing that came to mind is that everything that you do is a personal experience. Podcast called Everything is Personal, but it acts absolutely is true. And when
Yes.
somebody is telling you you can or you can't, it doesn't matter because they're taking that from their personal experience and it doesn't mean that it's you. So you have to be able
You.
to trust you because everything that you do, every decision that you make, every feeling that you have, every neurochemical that you secrete is personal to you. So just remember that everything is personal.
I love that. Thank you. So whatever it is, whatever dreams that I have, it is personal to me. Other people may not be able to comprehend or fathom, but you know deep down within you, you, you're meant for that, and you're gonna go and get it regardless.
Yeah,
So go ahead and follow that gut feeling.
that's right.
So Len, how can people reach out to you?
Well, our website is EndoDNA, ENDODNA.com. I am on social everywhere. Len May, LenMay. I think Len May DNA on Instagram and I think on X or Twitter, whatever, Twitter, whatever it's called. But I'm very accessible. You can find me. I have my profiles are public. I'm active on LinkedIn as well, Len May, and DM me if you have questions. There was a moment in my life where I was a coach as well. I really enjoyed doing that. I worked with a lot of high-level executives who had ADD as their superpower, and being able to use that as their superpower is an incredible thing because we put labels on ourselves. Even attention deficit hyperactive disorder. Well, who says it's a disorder? I think it's an advantage. So just labeling things and putting it into perspective allows you to have a different mindset associated with that specific thing that somebody just put a label on. So anyway, I know I went on a tangent from what you asked me, but I really enjoy, if there's a way that I can mentor or help people, definitely reach out to me. I'm pretty responsive.
I love that. I'm entering the space of coaching myself. So yes, there's a lot for me to learn from people like yourself. All right. So Len, this is just me being curious. What did you study back in your university days?
I studied physical therapy. I went to physical therapy school, and I never worked as a physical therapist in my life. I opened up an internet company in 19, I want to say. So I used to walk around with a black and white 96 broadband modem and explain to people what is the World Wide Web and what is email. And they were looking at me like I'm crazy. So that entrepreneurial bug, bit me at that point. I had it all along since I was a kid. I used to, when I grew up in Philadelphia, it would snow. So I would go the night before to people's houses or write down that I would come with my friends and I would shovel their walkway and their driveway and everything else. And I was an entrepreneur. So newspaper, I've been doing this since I was a kid. It's in me. And this is one of the things, going back to what you were saying, is if you already have something inside of you, explore it. Who knows? And a lot of people sit there in school and they're like, man, I think when I was a kid, I wanted to be an artist. I drew really well. I painted. And now I'm sitting as a consultant in E&Y.
In a cubicle.
Why the hell? What happened? What happens?
Yes.
Find that side of you when you were a kid.
Life happens. But that's an excuse when people say life happens. No, you have a choice. You always can pivot.
You're right.
And coming from you, like somebody who trained as who studied physical therapy, but right now coming back to the genome industry, that's like a big switch. So it is remarkable. You can change.
It's not really that big of a change, because I'll tell you why. Everything that you do in your life, remember we talked about growth, right? So it fills that bucket. And when you are in a factory doing some things, you learn assembly line. So you learn how to put things together. And then when you have a business, it has nothing to do with it, but you understand that it's important. Fulfillment is important. So you take all these skills you learn along the way, and you don't even know how you're implementing those skills, but you learn. So do everything. Do it all. Whatever is interesting to you, do it.
To reach. Yes. Yes. Me, as an accountant myself, I'm entering the world of psychology. It has definitely helped me along the way how to project manage this whole thing. So,
exactly. There you go.
How to manage my time with podcasting.
There you go.
So, yeah. Okay, and there you have it, guys. You heard it from the person himself, Mr. Len May. Before we close off, Mr. Len, I'd like to thank you personally for the work that you're doing for the world and for advancing every step of the way despite the challenges, creating trails for those that will come after you. This has been that one podcast with that controversial name, You're Worthless. Read that again. The juxtaposition of your very soul. You find yourself thinking that you're worthless, you're not alone. But more importantly, ask yourself a level deeper. If I'm worthless, then why the heck am I here? It is because your soul have chosen to be here energetically all the way from the ethers, and for that reason itself, you are worthy and you're enough. This has been Mr. Len May, your guest of the day, and Nick Niaras, your host, signing off. Thank you.